Hi, Taras.
Hey Tracy.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Cool. I'm really excited about this screencast. And you've been getting so excited about Ember composable helpers. And when you get excited about things, I get excited about things. And seeing you build that drag and drop Trello thing, where is that anyways? I want to show people how
I think
awesome it is.
you can go to GitHub, Ember Sherpa, and then Ember DND helpers, Ember-DND helper.
Set Ember, the helper. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was really cool that you can do this. And I'm really curious. Can you tell me why? Just explain to me why this. I heard this is really hard, and the fact that you built this using Ember D&D helpers is actually pretty amazing. But maybe for the audience, you probably have a better explanation.
Yeah, so I did this for a few reasons. So actually the biggest the thing that prompted this was that one of the apprentices that I've been working with for a while, he has a challenge to create a something like a Trello board, but what he needed to do is he needed to be able to drag things in between things. And so, and the way that drag and drop is usually done, people will end up using something like jQuery UI drag and drop library or some or there are a few implementations of there's like Ember scrollable and there's Ember drag and drop library. The problem with a lot of those implementations is that like they're great. Like Ember scrollable is a really great library, and it comes with helpers for testing. I think those are I think it's a really great library if you need to be able to like sort a list of
Mm-hmm.
things. But if you needed to, but in our case, what we need to do is we need to be able to, we have like kind of a list of things on a side here, and then we need to be able to drop it into a container, and then we needed to be able to have like nested dragging, so you can do like so. There's actually this this area that you see here is a drag area, so you can drag into it, and then the blue line is also a drag area. So these are kind of like nested drag areas. So we needed to be able to do that, and
But why does
that is not
why does
possible.
why does this
Huh?
why does Ember D&D helpers um make doing this easier?
Well, so actually, what I wanted to do when I started doing this is that I wanted to see what it would be like to implement this with just using pure Ember, using just like DOM events. And my idea initially was like when I started creating this, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need to use helpers to do this, and so I ended up creating this library. And but what I found out was that about halfway, I mean, after I actually implemented originally, I found out that I actually don't need as much um, as much from helpers as I thought I would. So what I actually have is if you look at the actual implementation, it's using just pure, it's using some helpers like from this library, but it's a lot of it is just using state, like template state uh, and um, and events that are fired. So there's actually less used by this particular implementation from this library, but I think that if you're going to be implementing, I think there's scenarios where this library would be useful. It's just that this demo is not
Mm.
using them right now. Um, but in theory, so essentially what we should be able to do is we should be able to build what like build your
Mm-hmm.
interface likely without these helpers from this library, but we should be able to also, but we might need to pull them in. So I think we can kind of like, you know, get
Cool.
started and then see what we're gonna need as we
All
go
right.
along.
So basically, I created a dino game, and what I want to do with this dino game is here's Giga, and I want to drag these things over here and have them stick. And then after we feed Giga all the little Ember, Babel, etc., I want something to happen,
Hmm. Okay.
something magical. Like I don't
S-
know what. Maybe we get
Okay.
Giga to like scroll around or something, or we get like a little Giga at the
Okay.
bottom. I don't know. Something amazing will happen.
Okay. Well, we'll need to figure that part out
Yeah, for sure.
afterwards. Um, okay. So one of the other things just occurred to me is that these things will likely not fit in
Uh-huh.
here. So we're going to need to probably figure out something where
Maybe like
maybe when we drag them in
near
here, they'll
here.
resize or something.
Well, just near here. Doesn't
Okay.
have to be perfect, I don't think.
Just
Yeah,
hovering
for
around
sure,
kind
for
of thing.
sure. Like stick it in
Okay.
the
All
bubble.
right. Sounds good.
So
Okay.
here's my HBS file. So I have the images right here, and
Okay.
then I have Giga right here.
Cool. All right. So let's first of all, so what we want to do is we want to be able to, we need to make these things draggable.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be the first step.
Okay.
But before we make them draggable, we need to the tricky thing here is that for us to make them draggable, we need to add some attributes to each one of these things, and we need to add some event handlers.
Okay.
And if we do this, then we're going to need to do it on every element. So I think what we should do is start off by refactoring this a little bit so that it will, so that we only have one place where we're actually, um, binding the events
Mm-hmm.
and setting attributes, and then have that kind of apply. It's going to be drier and simpler, and it's going to be less copy and pasting. So let's first start off with refactoring this to create a list, like to have an array of items, and then
Are we just
display.
eking over it
Yeah, we're gonna each
like
over it.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
So let's move
over
one of
an
these
image.
items in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's move one of them.
yeah.
Well, I'll just keep that in there. Okay.
Okay, now
And
let's
then I
replace the
want to do
source with
this.
a dynamic.
So
Okay,
what is it? Like, we'll call this framework dot image, and then it's
sure.
each framework. I forgot what this is. Like framework. Framework
Uh,
equals framework.
let's do frameworks as framework.
Framework as framework. Like that.
We're gonna need to put pipes
This
around
one.
it, so it's gonna be yeah, yeah. So
Oh
it'd
my
be a
God,
pipe,
Trust,
pipe.
look at me. Oh my
That's awesome.
God. So exciting.
Pretty good for somebody who's never programmed like a year ago.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
pretty impressive.
Well,
All
I
right.
mean, it's actually really comfortable playing around it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is because I've been playing with Angular lately, and it's kind of nice to go back to this. Okay, so where are we gonna put this? Are we gonna like stick it in? Like, where do we actually stick things?
Okay, so let's create an array here. So I'll take over for a bit.
Yep.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use with
Mhm.
to create
Is this one of your
a block of
helpers,
template that
or is with like an Ember
no,
thing?
this is built into Ember.
Okay.
So we're actually not gonna use very many. I don't think we're gonna use. I'll let you know when we start using our like something that I created,
Right.
and then because we're gonna pull in other libraries while we're doing this.
I've never
But
used with
uh,
before.
yeah, so what with does is it creates a block of template that has where you with some additional scope, additional state.
Hmm. Is it new,
So
or have I just not used it?
no, no, I just haven't used it probably because it's useful when you want to make something available to this block of template.
Interesting.
And one way to do this, you could put it into the route.
Right. Put
But
the array in the route.
but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I think in the situation is because you're actually like you're never going to likely ever fetch this data from the server, right? So you don't really need to put in the route. Declaring it in a template is going to be
Okay.
enough.
Okay. Cool.
So let's do
I've
that.
never done that. I usually always
So
put it in the route.
yeah, yep. So this is one of the things that's kind of changing with Ember is that increasingly more and more the things you'll be able to do in the
Is that like
template.
just in general sort of what people sort of like where Ember is moving? You've seen Ember moving lately?
Yeah, yeah. So things like Ember composable helpers and the Ember reactive helpers that I created.
Yeah.
Those Ember
Okay.
composable helpers was created by team at
Right.
Dockyard. So Lauren and Martin. So they created that library, and that library is really popular. I think that shows that we're moving increasingly towards these techniques of using things, doing more and more in a template. Um,
Cool.
I think one thing that yeah, so let's get started with that.
I'll let you take over again.
What we need to do is so what we need to do is we need to create an array.
Okay.
So there's Ember Composable Helpers has a helper called array.
Right.
So and what this will do is it will allow us to create an array that we're going to yield. So it's going to look like as frameworks.
Do I need to so to use Ember, don't I need to npm install or Ember install the composable helper?
Yeah, so you need to install Ember Composable Helper, so let's do that now.
Okay.
So it'd be Ember install Ember-composable-helpers.
Okay. Install Ember composable helper.
Yeah.
So Ember composable helpers, again, you said is made by the team at Dockyard.
Yeah, so it's Martin and
Lauren.
Martin and Lauren 10.
Uh-oh. Which one do I do?
So let's just take the later one. So let's just do 2 and exclamation mark, and that's going to save it for you. Yeah.
I'm gonna save it for me in my
it will save it for you in Bower JSON. It will save your selection in Bower JSON, so you don't have to do that again.
That's exciting. Okay, done. All right, so you're saying array as framework.
Okay. Yeah, so and then what we're gonna do is now so what array does is this helper accepts so any parameters that you pass into it are gonna be wrapped into put into an array. So what we want to do is we want to give it an array of hashes. So each framework is going to be a hash. So does that make sense? Okay. So what we want to do is so this array that we have the frameworks array is going to consist of a bunch of objects. And each object is going to have on it a few properties. One property is going to be image, and the other property is going to be alt. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, right now we're creating an array of hashes. So a hash is another word for an object.
Oh, I was actually thinking
so we're going to do that now.
Okay, got it.
All right, so let's see. All right, so what we want to do is we want to create let's do a hash, and then so the first one is going to be.
By the way, can I just change this really quickly because this actually needs to be the entire thing.
Part of the.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hash. All right. Okay, go ahead. I'm excited.
So hash and so what we're doing is so this hash helper takes parameters. So this is part of Ember.
So this is just saying object.
Yeah, so we're going to create an object. So we're going to specify what this object is going to have. So one thing it's going to have is going to be image, and that is going to be. Oh, why am I not? There we go. Image, and then this is going to be Angular to logo dot JPEG, and then it's going to be alt.
Well, I did. Got it. Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's going to be Angular. Okay. And so now you can repeat this. So if you want to repeat this, however many times, 5 times.
Well, oh, I think it's going to be easier.
Just copy paste it here.
Oh, this is so exciting. This is actually really exciting to learn it this way because
you gotta close that. Close it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've been showing these techniques to people, and one thing I'm finding is that people are getting really excited about this because it's I think what's special about using helpers is that it's very direct. You go straight from what you're thinking to what's actually going to happen. I mean, I think that's very rewarding for people.
The idea of doing this sort of like eating over the content in the template is not possible without this Ember composable helpers. Is that correct?
How do you mean?
Like, I couldn't do this, or I guess if I use the with, can I add an array in there without using the composable helpers?
No. Well, you could do a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm.
So Ember doesn't have array helper.
Mm-hmm.
It has hash helper, but doesn't have array.
Mm-hmm.
So without Ember composable helpers, you wouldn't be able to do you wouldn't be able to create an array in a template. What you could do is you could create a hash, but that wouldn't work. Like array is the best solution here because you're going to iterate over an array of things, so that's the best way to do it.
So can you tell me again, like,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got really excited about this. Like, so the things I just learned right now are number one, using with, so that if I'm eaching over something, right, like it can be directly in the template. And then the other thing I learned is being able to use Ember composable helpers to just make it like easier to what? Like,
Um, helpers. So you can actually, okay, so what with did for you is it gave you this frameworks
mm-hmm,
property. It allowed you to create this frameworks
yeah,
property. You could have actually skipped, so we actually don't need with here. Like we could have actually taken
mm-hmm,
this and put it directly into this property
mm-hmm,
here. We could have just done that. Um, but that so it's just like I'm used to doing it with and it usually ends up being useful. Like if you want to be able to get to a point where you have like if you want to be able to say like are all the items in the array in my bucket, for example, like are all the image every is did I move everything from this array into my
mm-hmm.
cloud? Like if I want to say that, I need to have a reference to this
Okay,
array, and that's why like with gives us that reference.
cool,
Otherwise, we would only be able to pass it in to
cool,
each.
awesome. Okay, I'm ready for the next.
Okay, cool. All right. So what we should do is now let's check if this is working. Like in theory, if we did everything correctly, it should look the same. It looks like it's not alive, so we're gonna cannot find Ember data from Ember Fire. I think this might be a result of us doing a bower change. Let me just take a look at your.
Yeah,
Do you mind
no,
if
go
I
ahead.
drive for a second? I just want to figure out what's
I
going
don't
on with
think I have
your
Ember data in any of this.
um Ember data imported. Well, Ember Fire. Do you use Ember Fire?
Is that liquid fire? No, it's not, right?
Uh, no. Well, no. It's Ember Fire is we're talking to Firebase.
Oh yeah, yes,
Uh,
I am using Ember fire.
okay, okay. So let me just see. So what we did was we updated this, and it seems to have exploded. Um, maybe why don't put it from let me just see package JSON. I think maybe you just don't have Ember data. Oh no, Ember data is here. Um, Ember Fire, Ember data. Um, what version of? Yeah, this is not. This is not. Um, actually, one thing is that what version of Ember do you have here?
Dun, dun,
Um,
dun, dun, dun.
oh, it's not bad. 2.2 is pretty close. Or Ember Data 2.21 isn't here. We should upgrade to your Ember Data here. Ember Data. And you actually don't need. Um, should have upgraded your project completely before we started this, but let's just run npm install right now. I think we need to edit this part out.
It's all going in. all going in. Everybody wants to watch the npm install. It's like IRL, you know? There we go. What's that?
All right, so that's been installed. Now let's try, let's run, start the server again.
Kill. Do I have the wrong version of
Oh, Ember still live? It should be okay.
Do it.
Let's see what it does. It's still building. Yeah, that didn't help. It's loader. Loader. See what's going on here. Ember load initializer. Sorry, let me blow this up a little bit so I can see what's going on. Okay. Yeah, I think that this project probably needed to be updated. I changed. What did we change? Let's see. So it's probably just so we changed the shims and to a newer version, and then that stopped working. So maybe we'll just see if we can go back to the old version of shims, and then we'll update this offline. Update this project.
Okay,
offline.
cool.
Let's do this. Hopefully it's still gonna work.
I remember the first time I had this problem, I was like,
okay.
how do I upgrade? I don't know. And then I had a little bit of a panic attack and then realized that just going into the package.json file and updating a text was how you did.
Well, I can do I think we can do another screencast of how to upgrade your project, because it's a bit of a process. And so if I show it to you, I think it'll be helpful for you and it'll be helpful for other people as well.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so let's try to start the server now.
Do we have to do this npm install thing? No.
No, not now. It's not that important.
You can do it. Oops. Oh, that was exciting.
Not without Chrome.
Ta-da! Works.
All right. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
But
all right. So let's see what we got.
nothing shows
Okay,
up.
that's cool. That's fine. All right. So we can figure that part out. Okay. So now let's look at so first of all, let's look in the inspector to see what errors we've got. So yeah, so hash helper is not available. So that's because hash helper was introduced in I think Ember 2.3 or 2.4. Hash helper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it was introduced in Ember 2.3.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of
2.3.
people don't really know about this hash thing, huh?
Yeah, it's not maybe not everybody knows, especially if they're working on an older code base, like anything before 2.3, they would likely have not had an opportunity to use this helper at all. So let's upgrade your version of Ember. There's another way to do it. Would be there's a you don't have to upgrade Ember to do this. You can actually use a Ember helper polyfill. but in our case, Ember hash helper
Oh, that's
polyfill.
great.
But in our so you can install this on a version of like Ember 1.13 and up. But in our case, because we probably could upgrade to a newer version of Ember without breaking anything.
Okay, so Ember composable helpers really only work 2.3 and up, unless you have the polyfill.
I don't know what the requirements are for Ember. 2.3 has hash in it, but I think you can use composable helpers with previous versions of Ember. But it's I think it really starts to kick in with the like these ideas start to kick in with later versions of Ember.
Very exciting. And this is why I love pairing with you.
All right, so let's do actually what do you want to do? Do you want to upgrade version of Ember, or do you want to upgrade, or do you want to install the polyfill?
Upgrade. Isn't it easier to just upgrade?
Yeah, let's just bump this up to 3 and see what happens. 2.3. All right.
Breaking changes.
Okay, so I'll let you do this.
Breaking
I'll let you do this. So.
Wait, what am I doing?
Just run bower install, so it will grab the latest version of Ember.
Oh, magic.
Let's just do the same thing that I showed you. Just choose version. Choose option 2, and then just use the exclamation mark, so it'll save it. Okay, so let's run Ember. My guess is you don't have tests written for this app, right?
Nope.
Okay. So with tests, we would be able to know.
Yeah,
that'll be a good one. But yeah, with tests, you'd be able to know if anything broke. But since we don't have it, we're gonna need to do it live.
Don't worry. Woo!
All right.
That was exciting. That's probably the easiest upgrade you've ever experienced, right?
Not bad. Well, we did have to go back to that previous version of Shims, right? But in the other screencast that we're gonna do with upgrading Ember, I think that we're gonna cover that.
Cool. Awesome. Ready.
So
now what?
All right, cool. So what we did was we replaced so we only have one image tag now, and everything else is essentially data in a template.
Right.
So now, let me see what happens if you try to drag these. You can drag it, okay. So let's do. Okay, now the other part we want to do is we want to make it. We need to be able to drop things. Like you need to be able to drop items onto this image, right? Onto this thing here. Okay. So let's. I think the way that works is that you need to tell it that this thing can be dragged onto. Okay. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it a draggable item. So let's just see. We're gonna need to look at we're gonna need some references because I don't remember these things all the time to track.
MDN, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay. We can also use the example that I have, the Ember DND helpers example for reference. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Templates. Okay, so I think one of the things that for dragging, what we need to do is we need to say that that when you are dragging something into this thing, like we need to basically tell it what needs to happen when you drag something into this container, right? Into this image. So so there's an event called OnDrop, And so this event is going to be fired when you are dragging something into this um,
And
element.
this is just
There,
OnDrop is that like JavaScript or is that your helper?
yeah, this is
Okay.
JavaScript. Well, no, this is actually not even JavaScript. This is just DOM. Like this is a DOM event. So this OnDrop event is fired by any DOM element. Um, there are some rules you actually have to like. There's some things that the default behavior is that you can't drag things into. Let's see. Um,
On drag, I see it.
uh, so that's the event there. So there's anyway. So yeah. So let's start with one thing at a time, and then
Okie doke.
we'll respond to it as
Okay.
necessary. So what we're gonna do is we need to take one. So we're gonna drag one of these items into this container, and then something needs to happen, right? So this so that it needs to be positioned on
Right.
this. So what we need to do is we need to accumulate the um, the items that you drop in
Mm-hmm.
here, and then essentially remove them from this
Right.
list, right? So that they can no longer
Mm-hmm.
be dragged, right? So some things that we're going to be doing um, are possible to do in the templates, and some things are either not possible today or not easy to do. And the parts that are not possible to do or not easy to do, like I'm actually working on making it possible to do those things in the templates, but we're gonna go with the path of least resistance for now, so that for the sake of like making
Mm-hmm.
progress here. So what we want to do is um, when we are um, dragging this item, we're going to okay. So first of all, we're gonna when we're dragging this item, what we're gonna do is we're going to store the fact that we're dragging this item in our template kind of state. When I say state, does that mean anything to you? Like, do you know what that means?
Nope. Like
Okay. So
state management.
yeah, do you know what that means?
No, but I know the buzzword.
Okay, cool. So state is just it's essentially it refers to where uh it's data that is available within some container. So and usually that state is assigned to
Mm-hmm.
properties. So essentially for the state for this data to be usable in your template, it usually needs to be assigned to something. So you'll have like an array that's assigned to a specific variable. So like what we did was we created an array that's assigned to that's assigned inside of this
Mm-hmm.
block to
Mm-hmm.
frameworks. So there's also so this is like so inside of this little block of
Mm-hmm.
template there is frameworks
Mm-hmm.
available, but frameworks is not available outside of
Right.
this. That's part of so like when you're talking about like state management, this is one of the considerations of state. Like you want the state to be as close to where you're consuming it as possible, so that it's not it doesn't clutter the um the context, like the container where it's not necessary. Like if you're only using it here, then you want this frameworks to be as close to this as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be using this here and here, then we actually want to move this state and make this state accessible a little bit higher up.
Got it. Got
So it's
it.
actually available to both of these elements.
Mm.
So that's when you talk about state management, that's what state management basically is.
Okay.
In a very like template specific example, there's state management in general applies to almost every kind of programming. So it's a big part of considerations when people thinking about how to design software. So it's kind of a big problem, but we're focusing on a very small specific use case here.
Mhm.
So, okay. So what we're going to do is, one of the things that I discovered when I was doing this this thing is that we can actually um, uh, just think, yeah. So the way that drag and drop works in HTML5 in general is that when you pick something up, when you start dragging something, what you want to do is you want to assign what that does is it causes an event to be fired,
Mhm.
and that event that that the function that you pass into it, into the event handler. So like here, when you say on drag start, what you're doing here is you're actually this action that you're seeing here, this is actually gets translated into a function. So through the magic of Glimmer and templates, this thing right here becomes a function.
Okay.
Okay, and this function becomes the the event handler for this event.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we're assigning this function to be an event handler for this event.
Okay. Got it.
And usually what would happen is you in any kind of, if you look at these examples here, these examples, they all talk about the same thing. On drag start, this is what it would look like if you were just doing this without Ember, without templating, any of that kind of stuff. This is what it would look like. You have this function that is the event handler for this event, and this function will receive a will receive an event. So this is actually this is the event handler, and then this function receives the event, and so you have this event here. And the way that it works in regular HTML5, so when you're not doing this in Ember, what you would do is you would need to grab a reference to that thing and put that reference onto the event, so you can then later grab it somewhere else. So that sounds complicated, and it actually is complicated. And luckily, we don't have to do that. That's one of the things that I found in the process of doing this, is that we can actually use Ember's state to completely bypass this kind of limitation, this complexity that's introduced by this complexity is built into the HTML5 API.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you following me?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. All right. So what we're gonna do is when we drag one of these things, what we're gonna do is we're going to put a reference to this thing onto our state.
Okay.
So what that will do is that will allow us to work with this thing directly without having to do what like HTML5 forces us to do, which is like create like an ID and then look it up by ID. Like it gets really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
With Ember and templates, we can actually just we can work directly with this little piece of data
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that we want to move around. So to do this, what we can do here is so first of all, let's make this draggable. So we're gonna say that what is that thing is just draggable true. So draggable equals true. So I think right now probably nothing would have changed, because I think images are actually draggable by default. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add an event, which is event handler. So on drag start, we're going to we're going to trigger an action. And so we're essentially creating that function that is going to be assigned right now to this drag start event. Now, what's going to happen is what we need to do is the easiest thing to do would be to just trigger an action. So we could say drag start. So that's what like. This is kind of a pretty straightforward
Drag start is just what you
way
define.
that
Okay.
yeah. So this is an action that we would need to define on the context. So what we can do you want me to show you how to do this, or do you want me to just focus specifically how to do this with helpers?
Just how to do it with helpers.
Okay. So then let's do it this way then. Okay, so there's a helper called pipe. This is part of the Ember composable helpers. And what it does is it allows it to execute several actions sequentially. So let me just double check something here from my previous implementation because I don't remember. Yeah, I think we might actually not need pipe right now. Let's just check. What we might need to do is just we should be able to just without pipe. There is an so action helper exists in two syntaxes. One is this action, the other one is mute. Sorry, the other one is closure action. So we can use this closure action to assign the a value to. We can create a closure. Okay, this is getting kind of complicated. Let me just type this out and then I'll explain it. So, framework, dragging. Okay. So what I'm doing here is, first of all, I'm creating an action that is bound to this onDrop start. When this function or action is called, it's going to do this thing. What this is this creates a function itself that, when called, will use this helper, which is called mute. What it will do is it will assign what this thing receives to this value. So this is kind of a long way of saying, when this event is triggered, assign this thing onto this property.
Okay.
So if this worked correctly, what should happen is that when you drag this, we now should have a value on this controller that has that a reference to that object. So let's just double check this if this actually works. Yeah. So if you look here, so this dragging property.
Oh, cool.
Now has a reference to this thing that we defined in the template.
Awesome. So it assigned a property.
Yeah, it assigned this thing to dragging.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Okay. All right. So now what we can do here is this is going to be the image. We probably want to. It's going to be a little bit tricky positioning things over an image. So let's just say that we're going to position things inside of this container.
Okay.
And then we'll later figure out exactly how we're going to position them.
Okay.
So what we want to do is so now we want to be able to drag something onto this div element and then have something happen. So so the event for that is called OnDrop. So when we drop something into this thing, we want something to happen, right?
OnDrop.
So
action. Oh wait. Drop.
Yeah.
Action.
Okay. Yeah. So okay. So what's going to happen here is we're going to take.
What's the action? Mute cover.
So what this is doing is once we once we drag something, let's look at another example that is, yeah, let's look at this column. So this is a little bit simpler. So when we drag this, when we drop something, what we're doing is we're calling this add action, and then we pass into the thing that we're dragging.
So action is actually add. Drag from.
Oh, we don't need
Okay.
that. That stuff is specific
It's
to
just action
that
add.
example. So, but the dragging is good. So we'll just add dragging here. So that's the thing that we're
Right.
dragging. We can get rid of this action here because it's going to be it's going to work for us like
Okay.
that. So what it's going to do is it's going to call this add action and then put call dragging. Okay. So now so this is what we really want to do. So let me show you how we would do this today, and then we can talk about how we could do this in the future after a little bit of improvements to the libraries that we're using. So dragging. So now let's define this action. And so we're going to define this action on the controller for this page. So can you create a controller for the Dino game?
Oh, I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it. You're going to create it. You can use Ember generator. You can do it by hand.
Oh, yay! Ember G controller Dino game.
Yeah. It's on root, right? Yeah. Okay.
Woo! Dino
right.
game.
Okay. Cool. All right. So now, so for now, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use regular action because it's easier for this particular case. And what we're gonna do is we need to have a reference for, let's see, where's our
Right here.
yeah, our Dino game. Okay. So we need to have an array where we're going to be of things that have been dragged. So so we need to actually let's create that array here. I'm just gonna say what should we call this array? I can call it dragged, but do we want to call it something else?
Dragged is fine.
Okay, dragged. You would usually not do this in Ember, because I'll just briefly say because it creates a singleton, but for the purpose of a simple implementation we're doing here, we're just gonna leave it the way it is right now. It's not that important. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create an actions hash. So and then we're going to now specify we're gonna add action to this actions hash. So that just looks like add just some simple HTML5. So this is now this actions hash has add function, and what we did here is we're saying that when we
drop it, call the action add.
when this action is triggered, yeah, call and then pass this dragging object to
Got
it, right? So
we're passing.
so we're going to say dragging here.
Okay.
Yeah. And now when we drag when this action is called, what we want to do is we want to push this object into this dragged array.
Okay.
Okay. So the way you would do that in Ember is you would do something like this dot get dragged, and then do push object dragging. Okay. So now let's try this in our code there. Yeah. Okay, now let's check our Ember inspector and see what we have in our in the controller. That's okay. No, yeah, right there. This thing.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Dragged. Okay, so it didn't call anything. So let's see why this is not working. Sorry, it looks like it didn't push the object in here. So let's see why this is happening. So let's open up our so I'm using Command P so I can navigate. So I'm just gonna select this is gonna be game, Dynamo game controller. Here we go. So let's make sure this is being called. So just put a breakpoint there. Now let's drag it again. Okay. Doesn't look like this action is being called. Okay, let's see what that is. Where is there? Okay, so OnDrop. I think what we need to do is, I think we need this part that that we have in here, which is prevent default. What this does is it changes the default behavior that is built into development, which is that you can't drop things into it by default. So what we can do is if we add this helper, what it will do is it will apply prevent default onto the event that's triggered when you click on when OnDrop is called. So this prevent default is provided by this library. So what we want to do is now install Ember DND helpers so we can use that.
What would be the without helpers? Would it just be messy?
Without helpers, yeah, I think that without helpers, what you would do is, I think this would work. Let me just check. Sorry. This might. Let me. I'm not sure actually if it would. I'm not sure if it would work. Let me just check. On action. Action. Tracking. Drop.
Well, let's just add it. So what do we?
Yeah, let's try
So
that.
what is it? Prevent default.
No, so yeah, so what we need to do is we need to use that pipe
Like that.
helper. Yeah, and we're gonna do is we're gonna pass into pipe a bunch of things. It's gonna be like that. So we're passing things, and this should be an action. So what we're doing here is we're saying call pipe, and to this pipe. So in this pipe, what we're gonna do first thing is gonna be prevent default, and then call this action. So let's give this a shot.
Gonna work. Gonna work.
Hope so.
What is it?
What's happening?
The command.
Wow. Yeah,
Now
that should be.
To Ember. I can controller. Nope.
Okay, it's not. Okay, so maybe what's happening is maybe we're not actually. Oh, I think I have an idea what's going on here. Let's just check something. This container. That looks okay. This is the thing that we're dragging onto. Right, so just double check that it actually has a height. Oh, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the thing. Okay. So it looks fine. Let me just see. we can check if it has event listeners on it. So let's just see if we have. Ooh. That's really messy. So let's see if we have OnDrop. Drop. Oh, it has a lot of event listeners on it.
Why does that have so many
That's
event
crazy.
listeners?
I think this is ours. I think the one that we add at the bottom here. I don't know what all those others are.
Mm.
Yeah, I think this might be.
Do
Wonder
we
if
just
it's
do it
gonna
on the
be.
other div? Like create another div and do it on there?
I don't. Oh, actually, yeah, because this is actually. Let's just create a div inside of this here. Let's just wrap this image in a div.
Okay.
Yeah, and then move that OnDrop to that.
Do we have to do a class?
No.
Maybe
No,
it's because it's in the class? No, it's not in the class. All right.
well, there's gonna be there might be stuff that's being applied to this element by what's it called, material.
Yep.
So that's why. Okay. Where and click the controller. Yeah, there. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, it's empty. Okay, let's see what's going on here. You can figure this out. Just take a look at how I did the drag over drop. I'm not sure. Just for kicks and giggles, let me just check if this is. It's possible that this this prevent default might need to be on drag over instead of on drop.
I think my favorite thing about pairing is learning how to use all the dev tools. Like somebody showed me the other day how to look at network, and I had never used
Oh
network
yeah.
tab before. I was like, oh my god, I learned.
There we go.
Yay! So what happened
Okay.
there?
Yes. Yeah. So what happened was that the prevent default is actually on the drag over. So I think this will still work if we were to remove it from here. Let's just double check if this is working or not. We remove it from here.
Yep.
Yeah, it still works. Okay. Yeah. So that the actual enabling the drop behavior is done on the drag over event handler. So we're preventing default on the drag over, and we're specifying that we're actually moving the drop effect is to move the item from one thing to the other, which I don't think this actually does. I think this just adds some data. I don't know if it actually changes the behavior. I think it might change how it looks when you're moving things. Anyway, so all right. So what's gonna happen now is so what that did was it put an item into that array using the code that we added here. Right. So this action got called, and we select the drag, and we push the object into that array. Now let's get just to go for the effect. Let's render the items that are in this dragged array. So let's create another each, maybe like for now just underneath this image, or above it, whichever you prefer. somewhere in here. Okay, and so we're gonna loop over dragged.
Drag, drag.
You can do framework. Just say framework, same as what you had before. And then we want that image tag.
And it's the same one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can probably copy and paste it or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, probably the entire thing. Except for
yeah,
the
except without the draggable and on drag start. Yeah. Good. Okay, and let's take the draggable off as well here. Draggable tree, let's take that off. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Okay, so what happens now when you drag it over, that should now display above the
so this is
GigaCloud
in this width thing. So is it still like, because this is a separate div, like, do we need to move that up?
Nope, nope, because what's gonna happen is it's going to what it's gonna do is it's going to give you a reference to this object.
Oh, got it.
And so you're going to you're gonna be working with that reference.
Ooh!
There we go.
That's exciting. Oh my god, you can drag a lot of them. This is really fun. Oh my god. The things that I can do now that I know this. It's terrible. Oh my god, rainbows and ponies.
So
This is amazing.
I feel like this is I feel like this is exciting as it is right now without any like fireworks.
Yeah. I think we should probably, I think this is good, and let's totally like do another one, another screencast, but this is like really the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But I'm easily excitable. So
Well, I think what will happen is for next session, I'm gonna do a little bit of tweaking, like to some of the libraries that we have. So maybe I'll take a look at Ember composable helpers and maybe my reactive Ember reactive helpers library. So I want to see if I can do all the stuff in the template so we don't have to create actions on the controller.
yeah, this is so
We can
cool.
make that.
Trust, what have you done? What have you done? It's like the best thing ever. Did you see this? This is amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
That's why I love JavaScript.
It turned out better than expected.
Yeah, and the thing I like about working on my own project is now I can be like, change the game, because there's no actual requirements except for my own. Oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. Well, thank you so much for teaching me this. Even though we didn't really get to like wherever we were supposed to end up, we got to like a really amazing place. So I learned so much. I learned about the hash. I guess I didn't really have to learn about upgrading my Ember app, except for the fact that before I pair with something, I should probably upgrade my Ember app. I learned the width, how to do width. Learned how to use Ember composable helpers, and this part is the Ember composable helper thing, right?
That's one of the things, yeah.
And
that's
then learned how to basically do this draggable and OnDrop stuff, and then this is actually Ember DND helpers, typing and this different action thing, right?
So pipe is part of the Ember composable helpers, and the prevent default and drop effect is part of the Ember DND helpers.
And then draggable and OnDrag start is actually just HTML5, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. This is really cool.
And also mute. You also learned about mute as well, which is and the two different kinds of action helpers
for Ember composable helpers.
These three things are part of. So this thing and this thing are the same thing. It's just they're used in two different ways. And this thing, mute, is part of Ember as well.
Oh, cool. Oh,
so action and mute are part of Ember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, so just for everybody who's actually still listening, you can follow Taras at Ember Sherpa on Twitter. And Taras, I believe you still do the free pairing sessions, right? For people like for organizations who are sort of looking to get more help. I know you help a lot of organizations sort of get up to speed with the newest new of the Ember and the newest new of the Ember. Did I really just say that? Yeah. The newest new. I mean, Angular calls their router the newest new router. So I'm all confused. And
I
it's
think
different.
we've had a few new things in Ember as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. But officially.
Just trying to remember what it was.
Well, this is exciting. So like basically, sorry. So going back to like what you do, you help sort of like larger teams uh, get up to speed, right? You should probably say because
Yeah,
I'm doing a very bad job right now.
yeah. So I do help. I help people, individuals, just kind of like for fun,
Hmm.
um, with if they're learning Ember. But what I do professionally is help teams that are responsible to build big things with Ember and don't either feel like they have 100% grasp on Ember or don't have or moving at a velocity that's much higher than what they'd be comfortable with. Like they need to deliver something in a short time span, and what I would do is work with them to make sure that they're doing things correctly and that they're solving problems that they're encountering correctly, and they're able to move through the application quickly and learn the process. So that's what we do at Ember Sherpa.
Really cool. Well, thank you so much for pairing with me. I super appreciate it.
No, it's my
And
pleasure.
I can't wait to, well, I feel like this was extremely useful, but I can't wait to actually push it to production.
Ship it.
I'm shipping it after I clean it up a little bit.
All right,
All right.
sounds
All
good.
right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. My name's Lady Lead at Lady Lead on Twitter. I'll probably be blogging about this over here on my Medium, where I've been blogging about things related to Angular. But since Ember is my first love, I'm going back to my first love. It's like I have many wives. I have many frameworks. Alrighty. See you guys next time on the next screencast.
All right, thanks, Tracy. Okay, bye-bye.